agents track unlawful travelers across time. Their mission, protect the past, preserve the future. These agents are known as Time Cops.
Welcome to Canceled. We did it, Jay.
I don't think we did it.
Well, here's what I'm saying. It's over. We don't have to do it anymore.
I'm going to do it again out of spite.
You have some serious, masochistic tendencies.
Yeah. Well, no, it's commitment.
That's just self-harm. That's like cutting yourself.
I genuinely almost watched every episode again last night just to get a collection of sentences where you could tell the writers were screaming for help. And I was like, this would be funny for the podcast. I think anybody who's left listening to it would...
Yeah, and then you might kill yourself though.
I ended up going on the air of I don't think Cubas gives a shit.
Not enough to do that. No, sir. I barely made it through these 3 episodes. But this is the last 3 episodes of Time Cop. Jay Whitecotton's here. How's life other than having to watch this terrible ass show?
You know what? This ruined my week.
Yeah, I can see that.
Ruined my week.
It's bad. I tend to I'll watch an episode on my lunch break at work.
Yeah.
So I don't have to watch them all in a row normally. And then this one I had to watch a bunch. I had to watch the last 2 this morning.
I started taking drugs just because of this show.
You didn't. That's everyone. This is on video. They can see you. That is a lie.
I finished taking drugs.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Let's just dive into these goddamn.
We're doing the last 3.
Last 3, episode 7, 8, and 9. Yeah. Episode 7 is Lost Voyage. So it opens up in 1939 on some dumb fake boat. Here's what the show is lacking, and they do it once or twice. Why not go into big historical moments, right? You do Jack the Ripper in the beginning. There's a moment in one of the episodes coming up where they dive into the middle of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre or whatever. But, isn't that half the fun of time travel is to, go to these famous moments?
I actually wrote an asterisk to remind myself that when we get to the last episode, I bring up the point that it not on this episode. This is the last episode where it has the formula.
Right. Yeah. These next 2, they're wildin'.
Completely fuck it, let's try.
Yeah.
So this is the last episode of that, and it's interesting to me because I remember writing down the show actually got better when it stopped trying to do the most interesting thing about time travel. When it realized that it can't do that.
Right. So let's just do barely any time travel and do character work.
A little bit of time travel, but mostly character work.
We'll talk about the next episode where there is 10 minutes of time. There is not a time crime committed except by the police. We'll get to that one.
I want to see time internal affairs.
Which they should do in the next. Okay, we'll get to that episode when we get there. Here's the setup for this episode. They are there's a Titanic-esque boat. It's called the USS Who Gives a Shit, and
it's called the Gitanic.
I mean, it might as well be. I think it's called the something of the Americas or something like
Princess of Americas.
And
because I know that because the captain clearly wants to fuck it.
he is wildly obsessed with that boat in in an uncomfortable way. He goes. So a very rich man, something McNeil, hires his boat ostensibly to bring all of his employees from Europe back to America because Europe's 1939. Europe's on the brink of war, right? What he's really doing is moving. He has sold all of his European assets, converted it to gold, and he's moving all of his gold, millions of dollars of gold, back to America, right? And it's hidden in the bottom of the boat, but nobody else knows that except for him and one dude. God damn it! So. Somebody time crime. There's a ripple. They have to go back to the boat to figure out what the ripple is. We find out, and this show is not good at subtlety. It introduces anytime something is introduced, it's going to play a major factor into that. If it's a minor thing, it's going to be a major.
Not only is it not good at subtlety, it actually goes to great lengths to give all the exposition and the dialogue.
Oh yeah, there's an example of that in the final episode, but we'll get there. So we get it in the beginning of this episode. Hemmings is talking to Logan, and she's like, "So, this is a picture of my grandma. I really loved her a lot, or whatever." And it's I wonder if we're gonna meet her fucking grandma.
Yeah. Clearly, this is gonna come up.
Lo and behold, they have to go back to this boat. Turns out her grandma was on the boat.
That picture, by the way, came with the frame.
Oh, for sure.
There was a barcode on the far right corner.
I didn't know
they're
that,
not
but
trying.
For sure believe you. So Fuller does like a he does like a 23andMe for her family. Finds out that her grandma's on this fucking boat.
No, he didn't do a 23andMe. He invented 23andMe.
I would like to say this. He also I realized it's taken this long, it's the last episode, to realize the reason Kurt Fuller was hired is that he just knows everything.
He's God.
Like, that's literally it. So, and a little bit makes sense in the world, right? Because if the time ripple catches up, then libraries are no longer useful because you can't look things up because they've changed, right? That's why Google wouldn't work or whatever. So they need a guy, right? Because now there's nothing to look up because it has changed. They need somebody to know what it was like before the change to recognize it.
We
kind
of discussed that a little bit. Yeah.
So he just has to know literally everything, and it's the cheapest fucking gimmick in the world.
You think they get a group of them?
I would also like
and have
to
some
say,
people specialize.
He also gets laid in this episode.
Oh yeah, with the lipstick.
He comes in with some lipstick on his neck, and it's so gross because there's a line. So basically, he says he gives these like symposiums or whatever to history, and he's like, I have a lot of these followers or whatever, and they go, are you telling me you have history groupies? And he says, I prefer to think of them as acolytes. That's terrifying. You're a cult leader. That is fucking frightening.
That's a guy who should never have interns.
Yeah, for sure.
On top of that, I will salute 1997 for being able to predict the future of sapiosexuals being a thing.
I would also like to say there's a bunch of lines in this episode. It's clear, kind of one person wrote a lot of this because there's a lot of the same, setup joke. I don't know. I've been trying to. I think about media all the time and the way TV shows have evolved, and this is the going away of a period. I think X-Files really kind of pushed it, but it used to be character driven, where everybody saw themselves in the main character. Right. I'm the hero. I'm the hero. And then it started breaking away to more relationships between characters. Like you look at Breaking Bad. If it was just Walter White's story, would that show be as successful? No, it's about Walter White and
Jesse Pinkman
and his wife and whatever. It's his way these people relate to each other.
So this is this show started trying to push that, but you could still feel the writers who were not comics, but all trying to be comics. You can tell, right?
Well, I'll give you a few examples, and they're all basically the same joke. So when they're on the boat in the beginning, people are supposed to be having fun, and the rich guy says, I've seen men pass kidney stones with more enthusiasm. Yeah. And then not 2 minutes later, her grandma shows up, and she says, I've seen chain gangs with more enthusiasm. It's the same exact joke. And then later on, there's two TV host Jacques Cousteau guys. He makes the same joke. He just says at one point, the lieutenant says, where is it? Captain Crunch has a better understanding of nautical science. It's just the same set up punchline joke. It's just
It was written by an old Borscht Belt Jew. It was let me tell you about this time travel, kids.
He's just trying to hold on for that fucking DG WGA health insurance. He's I'll just sign on for whatever.
That line sucks so bad. I need to get back to it because it's almost a work of art about how shitty that line is. I've seen chain gangs with more enthusiasm on a boat.
They beat them
transporting Jews away from genocide. And they still find a way to work it in. We got you.
By the way, they go to the Civil War next time. Still no black people. We'll get to that episode in a second.
Oh, no, there was one.
Oh, I did not see it.
I'm a white guy. We count.
So basically the premise is that these two Jacques Cousteau TV hosts are going to go back. They've sent two generic villains from so one of them we've seen in things that guy has been in he was the bad guy in Death Warrant with Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's around as a bad guy. He's the one who's talking in a terrible fake accent. And then
they're both.
Then the cowboy guy is doing a semi-believable.
No, I did backstory. First of all, that is the worst Southern accent.
It's not bad.
You're from New York State.
It's not good.
It was
the German of the other guy is so much worse. They kept dropping their accents every time. Every other
both
line.
times. I looked them both up. The guy that was pretending to be a cowboy. I don't know if you wrote the. I tried, but I was I am not.
I might have. There's a couple. He has some terrible.
First of all, he has a pump action laser gun. Why do you need to pump the laser gun?
For sure, it's a shotgun laser gun. It's terrible.
If it was just a shotgun, I get it. But it's a laser gun that they've already established does not need a pump.
For sure.
He goes, I'm a rootin' tootin' camelback hump riding.
Yeah.
And none of it made sense.
No.
And then I realized they gave him no lines. They said, be Southerner. And I tried to guess where his background was because he could not pull off a Southern accent to save his life.
Yeah.
I was guessing California because I was like, hey, he's, like actor dude.
Yeah.
No, he's from Boston. He could have just been a Boston guy.
You just want him to be different, so just make him Boston. Yeah, for sure.
Just make him Boston. Well, I looked him up because apparently the guy has been in actual things.
Oh, wow.
And I hated him so much in this role. I was mad he was Finch in Batman Begins.
Oh, wow.
He was in a bunch of like other stuff. And then he's dead. I Wikipedia.
Well, that worked out well.
I just want to read this because I want this out there in the world. In 2010, he was diagnosed with cancer. He died on February 13th, a day before Valentine's Day, 2011. After a short illness, he was 49 years old. His widow, Hannah, died in July 2015 by drug-induced homicide in Venice, California.
Hold on, drug-induced homicide?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So, like, I read that immediately and just watched the episode just smiling. Somehow it made his bad acting way more tolerable.
You're a monster. So she has to go back in time with him because her grandma's on the boat, and nobody knows that.
She's not taking no for an answer.
Nobody knows more about this boat than her because her grandma told her a bunch of stories about the boat or whatever.
Yeah, meanwhile, Kurt Fuller's like, oh, no, I got the schematics here on my old boat schematic. No, he pulled up the records. Hold on. He pulled up the fucking boat records from an easily accessible shelf.
Yeah, he knew exactly where it was.
There was it's come up.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's supposed to be in New York Harbor, 1930.
Also, her grandma talked like it's 1939, but she talks like an 1890s like saloon lady the whole time, which is weird.
Flatly though, like that was the worst acting.
Not good, but she was trying.
The only thing notable she did in her like IMDb history was she was one of the voices in a Leisure Suit Larry. And after that, I was like sold.
Oh yeah, I love her now. Were you a Leisure Suit Larry kid?
Sort of. Yeah.
I mean, I would go to people's houses that had it. Yeah, for sure.
Because we never had a computer.
I'm shocked they haven't like a Leisure Suit Larry on like an Xbox One or something.
It's coming, baby.
It's got to. So they have to go back in time, of course. I laughed really hard because finally, like, he comes in and just falls down a flight of stairs. They're just doing full-on pratfalls now.
Not even trying.
They're not even trying to hide the fucking Three Stooges and nothing. He just falls down the stairs.
She
lands fine, and then he just comes falling down the stairs.
Boy, I can't get this down.
And he says, unless we're trying out for the next Star Trek movie, we should find some clothes. Now, you just stole clothes from people on a there's like 20 of you on a boat. Someone's going to be like, hey, why are you wearing my dress? And then the epitome of, and it happens like every episode, every one of these 3 episodes has one of these moments, the ability of his horrible action, like his bad like fighting action stuff. They get taken hostage by the 2 cartoon bad guys, right? And as they're walking down the, they should just be cartoons.
Yeah. Okay. Are you go on?
They're walking down the stairs, and they're gonna like, okay, we got to bring everybody below or whatever. He pushes that guy down the stairs, and then the blonde hits the other guy, and then they both just stand there until they get up. Yeah. They don't dive for the gun. They just stand there until the guys get up with their guns, and then he dives off the side of the boat.
Abandons her
immediately. I was like, honestly, that would have been if he had just dived off the side of the boat, and the next thing you see is him just like paddling it away in a dinghy. He's like, fuck this job. I'm sick of this.
Well, they just assumed he's dead.
Yeah.
Because he jumped on a boat. We're like, well, I don't see any evidence, but he's hanging from a rope.
Yeah.
They didn't bother to look.
They didn't just look over to the side.
They just assumed, he's clearly dead.
Yeah.
There's not like safety boats on the sides.
Yeah,
that they have on every ship.
Every single boat. We'll find out later that apparently they destroyed those or something, but who gives a shit?
God, your commitment to detail is incredible. The fact that you picked that up.
I tried, because I try to make sense of this show just to make my own brain not hurt, and it just doesn't make any sense. So they get on the boat. They find out that our 2 Jacques Cousteau guys have sent these 2 back in time. They're going to come back. They're going to sink the boat somewhere along the way so that they can then discover the boat with all the gold. And
for their show.
For their show, and also because they've made this new... Like, like James Cameron always makes submarines or whatever. They've made this new fucking submarine that they can get down down to a new depth. Or whatever.
This is we've done it. Every episode is an homage to a Never movie. This is 97. This is Titanic.
Yeah. This is Titanic with like a little bit of Abyss with like the submarine thing.
Yeah,
mostly Titanic for sure. And then there's the lines are so bad. He sneaks up on a guy and hits him with a fire extinguisher, and then he goes quack. As in duck. And I was like, you could have just said duck, dickhead. No, like, you're just saying that to no one. Then also, they're trying to find the gold. He gets a captain who's like, the captain, by the way. Let's talk about the captain's relationship to this boat. He agreed to this job because, and it's very dangerous. They're saying, there's Nazis in all the water. They could be attacked at any minute. Yeah. And he took the job because if it's going to get attacked, it deserves a good captain.
I didn't understand that.
So you're suicidal is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, he wants to fuck this boat. I can't let this in the hands of another man.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, it's a fucking boat.
Sure. You could just ride another boat, I would assume. But
take a plane.
They have planes in World War in 39 for sure.
Unfortunately.
They're not. Unfortunately for the Japanese. So... there's a line where that was horrible. So there's a line.
No, I just like that you said unfortunately for the Japanese, and I was just thinking Pearl Harbor. Unfortunately for the Pearl Harbor.
Whatever. I feel like the Japanese got it a little worse.
Yeah, they did it themselves.
I'm talking about the.
Yeah, you're right.
Hiroshima. Yeah, they got it pretty bad.
That did happen.
So they were like trying to figure out where the gold is. This is so fucking dumb. And he's going through. He's like, okay, they said there's a tennis court. It's like a jet, whatever. And he's like, oh, and there's a pool, right? There's a pool here. And he goes, oh, yeah, it's below decks. But nobody's allowed in it right now because they said there's a malfunction. And they just go in, and that's just where the gold is. It's not even, the door's not even locked. There's not even water in the pool. It's just an empty pool full of gold. And it's like, well, then why not? And then I would like to also add this. The bomb that they're going to use to sink the boat is on the fucking gold. It's just on top of the gold. Don't you want to sink? Why do you want to blow up the gold? You know, am I making sense? I'm not saying like it's going to evaporate the gold, but it sure as shit's going to make it harder to pick it all up at the least. It's all nicely packed on like a crate, and then there's just a bomb on top of it.
I got to tell you, man, I just kept getting higher and higher, trying to stomach my way through this. Like, I try to live my life and not doing any chores.
Sure.
At all.
That's the dream.
And this was a chore.
Yeah. Oh, this was for sure a chore. This took work.
Oh my God, dude. I'm so mad at you.
Well, I'll get you a beer next time we're out. So the guy has put like laser beam shit in front of the gold
Pump
or whatever,
action.
which they immediately
You need one of those
past.
old-timey boxes with the T-handle to shove it down to make it laser blow up.
Yeah. Well, they literally saved the day with a magnet at the end of this episode.
Not just any magnet.
A small magnet from a phonograph.
Yeah. Because there's lots of phonographs on.
Well, there was one.
I don't know boat technology, but the thing that really got me was how they communicated to the rest of the boat that wasn't.
Just a pipe?
There was like gold pipes.
Yeah, there's like copper like pipes, and you just talking to them.
But they're lined up where you'd have to do it individually, and he's just kind of yelling. So
Back and forth.
Whoever's listening is only getting like a third of the information.
Well, I'm assuming that those pipes go to different rooms. Does that make sense? Right, one pipe goes to one, right? But but as you're saying, he's only talking to one dude. He's only talking to our guy. So like, yeah, that guy's only hearing like every third word. She now has to. So Blondie's with the hostages. It's Die Hard. It's Under Siege, right?
Where she meets her grandmother.
It's Under Siege on the Titanic. She meets her grandma.
Yeah, it was Under Siege. I was thinking about the Steven Seagal and the.
Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly what it is. He's loose on the boat, but he's not. He's somehow worse at karate than Steven Seagal than like nowadays Steven Seagal. By the way, did you ever watch Steven Seagal's
getting his ass beat
reality TV show?
Oh, I loved
Lawman.
Loved it.
Because he literally had Spidey sense on that show, where they would be driving down the street. If you guys don't know this, Steven Seagal became a like honorary Louisiana deputy
sheriff or some shit.
Yeah, and then he would go out on patrol with cops, and they would treat it like he had fucking Spidey sense. So they'd be driving on the road, and it would go like, and it would just show two black guys, and he'd be like, we better go check them out.
Have a good feeling.
Yeah, that'd be that's the whole show.
Can I sidebar this?
Please.
I just when you were saying that,
Mhm.
I realized that Donald Trump and Steven Seagal have the same aura of lack of sense of self-awareness.
Sure, and like the same body type. They
The
look
same body
yeah,
posture,
yeah.
the same kind of clunky
For
alien
sure.
motions.
Yeah, you can see, you know how like Trump now is just bad at like there's like, the idea that like if there was an alien he'd have to pretend to be human but he would give himself away by doing like not knowing basic human things.
Yeah.
That's like how Trump lives his life. Like he's constantly like that shit with the umbrella where he just puts it he can't figure out how to close it so he just puts it down and
He
walks
didn't
away.
even try. He just
Did you see yesterday where there
With
was a
the
kid, the minion, and the kid's holding a bag to put candy in, and he just puts it on top of the kid's head and walks away? Like, he just doesn't understand human interactions like that.
I thought he was petting it.
I thought for sure for a second, but then you just see this candy bar slide off the kid's fucking head. Oh, god damn it, that man. If he wasn't so racist, I wouldn't think he was a human being. So
makes him more human to you.
I mean, that's a very human.
Why am I crying?
It's not a human thing. It's not a good quality of humans, but it is a human quality.
Well, at least he's not a lizard.
Yeah. So she meets her grandma. Her grandma's horny for Logan. We find that out later.
Immediately.
Second she sees him, she's like, "Oh, mama
Again,
needs a sip or
guy
whatever."
that's never fucked. And immediately she wants to fuck our hero.
By the way, our bad guy at one point, he goes, "Do you know how much the history will change if you kill all these people? Because you're gonna sink the boat with everybody on it, just kill all these people, right?" And he's like, "Do you know?" Also, this boat is like bigger than the Titanic. It's huge, right? And the idea is that there's like, you would think the idea is there's 1,000 people on it, but they clearly can't afford extras. There's 20 people in this room, so they just make it that the rich guy just hired the entire boat for himself.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. But he says, "You know how much history is going to change if you kill all these people?" And he goes, "Do you have any idea how much history is going to change if you kill these people?" And he goes, "Do you have any idea how little I care?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's some good villainy right there."
I will say the villains in these shows have not been bad because at least they know they're supposed to be cartoonish.
Sure, yeah. They're the only people who get it even a little bit that there's some camp here,
Yeah.
and at least maybe lean in a little bit. So while they're doing this in the past, Kurt Fuller, whose name is Easter apparently, and Matuzik, the lieutenant, are trying to figure out like what's going on, like who's behind it. They haven't 100% figured out it's the two brothers who run the TV show. They go and interview one of them, and I don't know who writes this. He's like, "So you've got this new."
It's not that they interviewed him; they didn't go to him.
No, they talked to him like on a camera phone, like a video phone,
on a TV.
Yeah.
And he's just driving a boat with his TV.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, hey."
And he's like, "Where's your brother?" And he goes, "He's indisposed."
Sick.
Like, it's the most clearly lying thing. But he says, "Oh, do you have this new submersible or whatever?" And the guy says, and I wrote it down, "Yeah, the action toy comes out next week." Action toy? Who wrote you know the English language. You've owned toys. There's action figure. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Just say the toy comes out next week. It's just
It's
little
written by
shit
an
like
old
that.
Jewish man. It's written by an old Jewish man who did like vaudeville, and he's trying to hip up these sci-fi shows. The kids are into the sci-fi. Larry King wrote the show.
So, her grandma, by the way, knows karate, and she says it because she says this line, because they have a distraction and they attack one of the bad guys, the cowboy rootin' tootin' bad guy, and he says, "Why?"
She knows karate.
She knows karate, but
In 1939.
well, listen to the line because it's even worse. She goes, "You remember the Orient? Fella there taught me his new fighting technique. He called it karate."
Oh,
he writes it down. By the way, you know what wasn't new in 1939 to the Japanese? Karate. They'd known it for some time. It wasn't his new fighting technique.
She was like, "You ever heard of the Charleston? I got a new dance for you. It's kata."
He shows back up and she goes, "Logan, I thought you were dead. If you did, you sure fucking didn't act like it. You've been having a real pleasant time with your
Pretty chill,
grandma.
yeah.
Didn't give a shit." Here's where our heroes are assholes, and we'll move on to the next episode. So they beat up everybody. They beat them up a couple times. They have to beat up the bad guys a couple times, and eventually they do. They bring our TV show host back to the future, back to 2007.
Can I say right before that?
Sure.
When she's saying goodbye to her when she's saying goodbye to her grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
she's wearing her time watch.
Oh yeah, they're very not good at hiding any of their stuff. They give up on that entirely in the next couple episodes.
And during the ending, I made sure to write this down. While they're talking to each other, you could hear traffic.
Just the sound stage is not good.
They're clearly in someone's office,
Yeah.
all right, we got to film this now.
So they bring everybody back, right? And then it's in the middle of the TV broadcast where the brother thinks he's going to be discovering all this gold. But Logan, our hero, had made a bad guy think the ship had turned around by using a magnet on his compass or whatever. His compass is
north
it's a
means south,
computer or some
west
shit.
means east.
It's so dumb. But Logan has put a bomb where the gold was supposed to be, and they blow up the guy's submersible. Does he have any idea? How does he know there aren't people in that thing? Like, he just sends a bomb back to destroy what could be any number of innocent human beings. No problems. And his boss just literally goes, I hate my life. That's how the episode, they might as well be like, brah, brah. And then that credits, he says, I hate my life, whatever he says.
Again,
and that's how the episode ends.
This is the writer screaming. Why do I have to keep doing this?
That episode sucked. On to the next one.
This is where we get a break, where you could tell, like, everything's starting to change. Like, they got rid of devices.
Yeah, there's no go back in time, solve a crime in the past.
That one episode where everything is way more future tech than it was, they even kind of got rid of that.
Oh,
they're like, let's just go back.
Well, in 2000, so this episode's called DOA, right? And apparently the blonde and Logan are going on a date. They haven't set that up at all, but they're, like, acting like they're already dating.
Oh, they've made some sexual tension.
There's been some tension, but, like, at some point there should be the moment where the tension breaks and we find out they're actually a thing. This episode, they just go, we're actually going to have a nice dinner. Like, they've been dating and he's been taking her to shitty restaurants. It's just a weird implication. The boss asks for a ride home, and Logan is like, look, I'll just drop him off and I'll be back. I'll turn around. I'll come right back. And she's like, you've got 1 hour or whatever. She's real shitty about it. Can't y'all just drop him off on the way to the You're both going to the same restaurant. Just drop him off, you fucking lazy assholes.
They're walking down to the parking garage. My favorite, and they kept up with this, is a future car passes them, right? And they pretty much nailed the future car, except in 2007 they still had wheels. So they kind of nailed, like, the curve of the design. They kind of got it, but you heard it, like the Star Wars sound in Tatooine. But as they're passing to walk to Logan's car, which is like a 94 Chevy Suburban. Why is he driving a Suburban?
With a CD player in it. They just put on the CD. They played a song.
I think it was still a tape deck.
Well, it was flat. Whatever that thing he hands him was like.
I was trying to look at it. It looked like a DAT.
It might have been a mini disc or something. But whatever it was fairly common technology for sure. And they play Wild Thing, and he goes, my son calls this geezer rock. And all of a sudden now we find out Matuzik has a son. That's going to be real boring in this episode. And then there's a bad guy on the roof. He's got a rocket thing.
How do you know he's a bad guy?
Oh, because he's got scary sunglasses and a rocket.
He is he's night.
Villainous. He's wearing scary sunglasses at night. He's bald. He's got like a leather jacket with the collar up. He's just villainous.
He looked pretty menacing. And that's when I was starting like, okay.
I thought for a second, I was like, oh, is it going to be Ian Pasco again? No, he doesn't make it back.
No.
But, and he's got a thing that, like, scans them and goes, oh, target acquired. Scans, like, Logan. So that's Logan. And scans Matuzik. That's Matuzik.
It tells you target.
It says that multiple times. And then he shoots the rocket, which is it looks like, you ever do like a bottle, like a homemade rocket thing in high school or whatever, junior high? It looks like one of those.
The one thing that isn't laser in this show.
It's just a straight up rocket. They shoot it in a car and blows them up, and it kills them both. But, of course, this is time travel, so who gives a shit, right?
Yeah. At the cop station, and immediately everyone's like, well, we got to fix this.
Well, here's the thing. They don't.
Well, hold on.
Only Kurt Fuller is like, we can just go back in time and fucking tell them so they don't go to the roof or whatever. And she's like, no, we can't do that. Unauthorized jumps are a federal offense. You're going to lose your job, whatever.
He goes, I helped write the legislation.
Sure.
And then in the next sentence, after like she says something stupid, he goes, you know, that guy took me out of being a poor history teacher who's never going to like... Then why are you writing legislation?
I would also like to say he took you out of that and made you a bureaucrat. Like, you're not like he didn't make you like some like, oh, he put me on this like famous with all this money. You just have a different office.
Yeah, but now I don't have to wear ties. I can wear my pineapple Tommy Bahama shirts into the office. There's another thing I'm forgetting here, and this is good. Oh yeah, okay. When this happened, I got super excited. I was like, finally, they're going to solve crimes in the present.
Yeah.
Does that mean they don't go to the time cops? They go to the regular cops?
Nope. I'm gonna get mad about that in a little bit on this episode.
Okay.
So Kurt Fuller convinces the blonde to go back in time and warn them. She goes back in time for like a total of 10 minutes. She goes back to the morning, says, "Hey, you're gonna die," and what pissed me off, she tells Logan like, "No, look, I'm from the future. You're gonna die," and she's like, "Yeah, right." Bitch, you're a time cop. Why are you shocked that the person you know has time travel technology came back in time? Just listen to her. Does she seem like the kind of person who would make that up? Has she ever told a single joke this entire fucking show? Just listen to her. She has to like pull up the blinds and be like, see how there's one of her there, and then I'm also here. Maybe you can shut up now.
That's
maybe so mad.
Yeah. That's probably what would happen in this kind of future if time travel's so easy that they had to form a police department to get run-of-the-mill bad guys who could just go back in time to do crimes. You know, there would be like a time prank show.
Sure.
Where people just go back in time and like pants George Washington.
Oh, for certain. And I would actually watch that show.
I've watched the fuck out of that show.
Yeah. I also like to say this. The bad guy is not Ian Pasco, but they're trying to figure out who would possibly want to blow me up. And he's like, oh, let me go through, see who's been paroled or whatever. Maybe someone should have said, hey, what about that psychopath who's been traveling through time trying to kill you every other week? Yeah. Maybe it's him. All it would have taken is like, do you think it's Ian Pasco? And they go like, oh, this isn't his style or whatever. That's fine, but at least acknowledge that the guy exists.
He's that hated.
So the rest of the episode, by the way, takes place in 2007. There is no more time travel.
No.
And he figures out there's this guy, Carl, played by Mac's dad from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, who he's like, that guy just got out on parole, and he's got explosive experience or whatever. So he goes to his apartment. The guy's watching he had been arrested for trying to go back in time and blow a hole in Fort Knox, right? So then he shows up, he's watching the history channels on the TV, and there's
back when they played history.
Back when there was actual history on it, not just ancient aliens. And then there's a big ass C4 bomb on the table, right, just under a towel. So there's a little bit of a fight. He beats him up. He takes him back to the police station, and the bad guy says, and I wrote it down because it just made me laugh. He goes, "So you caught me taping the History Channel. That and the explosive rap adds up to zip." I would think the explosive rap adds up to a crime. Adds up to something. You had a giant bomb on your desk.
Listen, I don't know if you've been arrested.
A couple times. Not for much. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
minor things, but yeah.
It sucked. Like I'm up to 4.
Okay.
And I don't think about it because like I don't feel like they were real crimes.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, but I do know this, that when you're on parole, they can just enter your house.
For sure, 100%. They don't need a warrant. They can just go in there.
And the last thing
I don't know that he needed to kick the door down, but whatever, it's fine. But also, even if you're not on parole, you had a fucking bomb, man. And he says, like, okay, we have to kick him over to the regular cops to have him charge him with parole violations and having a bomb.
Well, I guess he wasn't the guy that blew up this thing in the future, and everyone's like, what? Nothing.
Yeah. And then he has to tell him, too, like, by the way, we're both going to die tonight if we don't figure out this bomb. Turns out they run an analytic on some piece of the explosion. It leads them to some high-end
chemical
arms fucking dealer thing. Not like illegal arms dealer.
Well,
wherever Cheney works. One of those places.
Yeah, okay. Halliburton.
Yeah, Halliburton.
Leads them straight to Halliburton.
Pretty much.
That hires women.
For sure. And this made me fucking laugh and then also just be like, fuck you. They show up and they're like, we need to know about this special chemical bomb or whatever. And she goes, oh, it's part of this missile system. It works on facial recognition. And he's like, what? Blown away by the idea of facial recognition. You have a fucking time machine. Facial recognition blows his mind. She then has to draw the most insulting description of facial recognition to explain to them like they're little children. She's a little sketch pad. She draws a stick figure with a frame around it. See, that's a picture. And then this is a stick figure. That's just a person. And she goes, it compares the person to the picture. Yeah. And then if it matches this missile, and she draws a little rocket.
You know why they did that.
It goes here, and then she writes boom underneath it to two police officers who work in time travel. She's treated them like just flat out
That was
idiots.
For the audience. Because if you're watching up to the eighth...
that made me laugh so hard.
If you're watching up to the 8th episode, it's clearly these people are fucking stupid. They're still watching this.
By the way, I have to go back to the bomb guy getting arrested. He does the same thing that Logan does every time there's a fight where he comes up behind him, right? And Logan doesn't notice him. And he looks over, he sees this ashtray. I'm like, oh, he's going to pick up the ashtray, brain him. He picks up the ashtray, throws it against a wall in front of Logan. Logan sees it, turns around, and then he just stands there like, wow. Like, God damn it. Why does everybody just not understand how distractions work in the show? It's really dumb. Basically, I mean, be honest with you, I was like really in. Like, I literally have a note that says I'm half paying attention because this is very boring.
I did the same.
Yeah,
I actually did the same. I mean, because it became a police procedural.
And not a
in the
good
present
one.
time.
They spend like 4 minutes in his car talking about McCusick's partial custody of his son. And I was like, hey, guess what? We didn't know you had a son until 8 minutes ago. We don't give a shit.
They stopped in the middle of this murder investigation to just say hi to his son.
Yeah, he
with his atypical Home Improvement 90s haircut with the split and the wedge. Says,
I got a B in chemistry. And the dad's like, oh, that's great, son. And I'm like, who gives a shit about any of this? Also, you've got like 6 hours to solve your own murder. Maybe get to it. Maybe run a little bit.
Maybe get to it, guys who don't understand the words facial or recognition.
So, blah, blah, blah. It follows them. So they steal some papers with some names on it from some guy who has a phone in his briefcase.
Okay, no. It's okay. Dude, they go to an arms dealer.
Right. She basically says, we've only sold this bomb to like 6 people. So it's got to be one of these 6 people.
You got to go to the arms dealer who has the contacts and know who would have bought it.
Right.
Now, the arms dealer, now I don't know when you think of arms dealers.
I don't normally think of like doughy white guys at a fast food stand.
At a hot dog stand.
Yeah.
By a payphone because he doesn't want the call trace because there's going to be... There's not even payphones in 2007.
For sure.
They were gone by then.
Yeah.
So he's just doing... I'm sorry. I don't mean to yell at the engineer.
No.
I just need someone to understand the ridiculousness of this. They treated him like a neighborhood bookie.
Yeah.
Like,
they kind of rough him up a little bit. They like...
I'm an arms dealer.
They rip his phone out. They do that thing, and it's like...
Like an arms dealer would not have protection.
For sure.
Or work in a billion-dollar industry.
Or have a gun like he sells professionally.
Protection. And the solution to stopping the arms trade was just yanking the phone out of the pain.
That's it. Don't look. Yeah.
Done.
He's done. He can't go to another
phone. Take that, Iraq.
They get this list of people it may be, and they bring it to Fuller, and Fuller goes, well, this name doesn't have any history. That's not a real surname. And then he just starts doing anagrams.
Kurt Fuller did this.
Yeah, he just starts doing anagrams, and he goes, anagram? Logan's like, anagrams? He goes, just one of my many talents. Right, because you can do anything, because you're just...
Hi, I'm a MacGuffin.
I was going to say, your name is Steve McGuffin. It's your only job. He figures out an anagram of a guy who Matuzak had arrested. They go to his place. He's dead? Do we know why he's dead? They track him down. There's a little bit of a police standoff happening, and he's dead when they get inside.
He's just dead. But isn't that the guy that also had the big missile?
It's the guy. It's the bad guy.
The coolest bad guy at the beginning that we're like, this guy is going to be awesome.
He doesn't get a single line in this episode.
Nothing. He's dead.
Just automatically
immediately dead.
Immediately dead. There's a note there that says, pick up cat, which is important, apparently. They go back to the police station. They go out to the car where they normally would get blown up. They don't get blown up. So it's like, oh, he must have made it. He's driving him home, and Matuzak's like, something doesn't feel right, which is so fucking lazy. There's no, like, he doesn't remember a thing. There should be some little clue to make him do this, but he just goes, something doesn't feel
Instincts.
Right. Pull over here. And he runs into this, like, restaurant or whatever, and makes a phone call.
Random
restaurant. Just a random restaurant. Just a fucking random restaurant. Walks in. Well, there's the girl from the arms place that they talked to earlier. I wonder if she's going to be important at all. Her name was Anne when they introduced her, right?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, my real name is, and they look at her purse and has the initial CT on it. She goes, well, my real name is Catherine, but everybody calls me Anne or whatever. And Matuzak says, why don't you go home, Logan? I'm going to finish my drink and then I'll get out of here. He checks in with the police and he's like, oh, you don't understand. No, there is some... Your hunch was right. The bad guy actually got $25,000 that day from somebody, so somebody paid him, which means somebody's probably still out there looking for you. And Logan, as he's walking back, has a flashback of the post-it that says, pick up cat. And he's like, C-T, and cat? And he runs back inside.
Do we got to pick up one of those construction vehicles?
Yeah. No, he figures out it's her because of the initial.
Yeah.
She has already exposed herself because she's pulled a gun on.
Of course, because she's like, she didn't even give it a chance to like,
Play out
I was
a
trying to
little
kill
bit.
you, and he's still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, Matusak has no idea what's
He
happening.
hasn't put it together,
He
and
has
she
to
just
figure out the
tells
Catholic
him,
girls. He tells him,
I'm trying to murder you.
yes, because
Me.
somebody he had arrested, Jimmy Wells, she was in love with before he got arrested, and who he got arrested for like petty larceny, for like mugging someone essentially, and he eventually dies in prison. She blames him, so she wants to kill him.
Right.
She's gonna kill Logan too, so that it throws off suspicion.
And that's why she brought in the guy
That Matusak had,
because he was connected to Logan, so
Right.
that was an extra double. Like they spent more thinking into her plot device. Like
Right.
I wish she wrote the show.
I would like to throw this there. It was a random restaurant.
Yeah.
They just stopped there, and if she doesn't happen to be in that restaurant,
Well, she shows up after them, so she could have been following them.
no, no.
But she
even
treated it
says
like I'm
it.
a regular here.
She also even says like, "I just happen to be here." Like she says that line.
Well,
So
of course, she would say that if she was secretly following them to murder them.
yeah, but she says it after she's told, like after she's got the gun on him. So she doesn't have like a motivation to continue that
sucks.
lie.
I
You know
didn't
what I'm
even-
saying?
listen, oh fuck, that sucks.
It's so dumb, and they
Instead
have a
of
little.
calling the show canceled, just call it Two Miserable Fucks.
So there's a little bit of thing in the alley. She's like, I might just go kill your son too, or whatever. He struggles for the gun a
I
little
respected
bit.
that. She's just having fun now.
Yeah. They have a little bit of a scuffle. They get the gun away from her. Problem solved. End of episode. Right. This episode included no time crimes. One, she has committed no time crimes, so she is not under the jurisdiction of the time
I was going to ask
cops.
you, was she from the future?
No.
Yeah.
She's just from 2007.
Yeah.
The only person who does anything who commits a time crime in this episode is the blonde, who committed a felony by going back in time to warn them. So she should be arrested, and they don't have the jurisdiction to stop this woman because she has not committed a time crime. So I don't know who wrote this bullshit, but it made me angry.
Well, they did have a scene where, like, now we're starting to understand that the time cops are like a special division that's super secret, G20 or something like that.
Right, because she says something about like
Yeah.
secret, like top secret clearance or whatever. Even the mice in this building have top secret
just
clearance
awful.
or whatever.
Just
terrible,
awful.
Terrible writing.
So, but there was one of the episodes at the murder scene. The cop's like, "So, you guys gonna fill me in on what's going on?" And they go, "No."
Yeah.
And the look of just sadness from the cop was like,
Yeah,
"Oh."
I kind of like that though.
was so good.
That was actually pretty funny.
That was really good.
Yeah. That did make me laugh. We're into the last episode. It's called The
Okay.
Future, Jack.
I-
The Future.
Was so fucking happy.
When Bruce Campbell showed up.
Bruce Campbell in the first scene, that was the only way I could trick myself into enjoying this, is just pretending everything was done through Bruce
in
Campbell.
there. He literally makes this show make sense.
Not just
I know,
makes,
and
yeah.
it's like just so his type of performance. Bruce Campbell, I've loved him in tons of things. He's not gonna win an Oscar. That's not the type of acting he does.
He could.
He's
I've seen him do that type of acting.
I like him in things, but let's slow down.
No,
But
no.
what
I will send you a
Okay,
link.
like
I will
what?
send you a link. I can't remember the movie, but it's a
Okay.
black and white movie. It was filmed in like '92.
Okay.
And it's an indie where it follows him. It's all one shot, and he acts through the whole thing. And it's
Oh, did he do a version of Rope at one point? But it's called something else.
something like that.
Yeah.
Really good.
He's very good. I think he's a very talented actor. But
The
his performance
camp.
he's charisma, and he understands how to like have a hero that, while yes, we all understand this world doesn't make a ton of sense, but we're gonna have some
He
fun
knows
with
how
it.
to deliver a shitty line
Yeah.
better than anyone else.
Every moment he's on camera, this show is better for it, and it made me not hate it. And
it
then
made
the
me want to see more.
I would watch the show if it had Bruce Campbell in it. And then also, every time he was gone, it just reinforced how bad everyone else on this show is. But it opens in Civil War, and they're
in Grant's tent.
in Grant's tent, and a guy comes in and is like, we found that deserter or whatever, and this is going to be the last deserter you see, and he pulls out a laser gun.
Well, no, it's like, we're gonna end this war on slavery.
Well, he pulls out a laser gun, and he's like, your little war is not going to end
Yeah.
slavery. He's here from the future, which I love how fucking racist white people are.
The
They'll just
future.
travel through time to ensure slavery continues.
I'm gonna wear my flag because it's heritage, not hate. That's the whole thing.
And he takes a shot at Grant. They stop him, obviously. And Logan is one of the guys. Bruce Campbell's the other.
They're partners.
They're partners, but they act like they've been partners, like
Forever.
almost like this episode is out of order because they act like he's like, this is your partner. You've had this long-standing relationship, and now, as this episode will show, the partner makes a bad decision and kind of turns bad for a little bit. Right? He's not evil. He's just trying to get some money or whatever. But all of that only plays if you've been partners. We've never seen you. 9 weeks of this.
Yeah, there's an emotional scene. I was like, that guy Maddox would do anything.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me.
He's like, would I trust? He's like, do you trust him? He's like, with money, never. With my life, always.
Always,
And I was
because
like,
he's clearly saved my life so many times.
Right. Also, he's not though, because when this made me mad. So they're walking the guy back to go back in time or whatever, and Bruce Campbell starts talking about, man, I'm getting a little tired of this fucking time cop bullshit. I want to be on a beach. Remember those little drinks? And they're both holding one of the guy's arms, right? So he lets go of his arm so he can describe the drink, which allows the bad guy to reach down, pull a knife out of his boot, take a swing at fucking Bruce Campbell, or at Logan before Bruce Campbell takes him out. And then Logan's like, man, you really saved my ass. No, he's the reason the guy got to his knife. Yeah. He didn't check him, and he let his arm go. Like, he's just all of you are bad at being police officers.
It's like when you take someone's steering wheel and, like, stop, like, sort of, you're like, save your life.
Yeah. They come back, and there's, like, a bunch of... he goes, Bruce Campbell's like, oh, a lot of turbulence there. And they go, oh, there's no turbulence, actually. Something else is, like, something's up. And they have this conversation where she's like, maybe your aim is off. What the fuck? What do you mean aim? They turn a thing on a watch and then they just show up in a car. There's no aiming. You're just there.
Well, it finally took this episode to explain what happens to the car. It dematerializes.
They do say that, which that's not a thing.
It took 9 episodes.
Yeah. But what? Like, huh? I don't. Where does it go? And how does it come back when you want to jump into it? All of it's stupid. But basically what they find is there's something wrong with the fucking time thing, right? And then they go, oh, there's another ripple. And this ripple is happening right at Time Cop headquarters, but in 1990. So they have to go back to 1990 to figure out what's going on, which I absolutely fucking love because they have given up. They're like, we have no money. We can't do fucking shit. We can't do future. Period. We can't afford period clothes. We can't afford fucking future clothes. What do we got? Well, it's the 90s currently. They're going to the 90s, everybody. Let's just walk around the park.
Yeah, and it got better when they couldn't do the coolest thing. Like, let's go see dinosaurs.
Yeah.
We're not doing any of that. We're going to
go to the 30s. Well, we can't afford that anymore. We're going to go to 1996. When the show was made.
We're going to go to the beginning of laser tag.
Yeah. And then, might I add, when they're walking around, when they go back to 1990, they have given up any pretense of trying to hide their uniforms. They're just walking around. Not only are they walking around with uniforms, they're walking around with laser guns strapped to their fucking hips in 1990 in, like, weird uniforms. Nobody gives a shit. Doesn't matter. And nobody even goes, hey, it's not Halloween. Like, just throw a line in where maybe it explains why no one cares. No, they don't give a shit. There is some rich guy who was like...
Developed the technology. Because it happened in 1990. He developed the technology.
That's when the time travel technology was first being developed.
Yeah, he wrote this movie for Jean-Claude Van Damme.
So they go back to 1990. They find the time headquarters, and there's just like, oh, there's a sled.
Yeah, they had to stay in the same building.
For sure.
They just told the crew to leave.
They replaced one monitor with like a slightly older monitor. Yeah. That's the whole.
Lights down.
They have the time sled that's there, but if this one's rocket
Let's put a Gary Larson Far Side calendar of 1990 over the side. We did it.
There's a sled there, but this one's powered by rockets as opposed to whatever future bullshit they have. And they say how they lost a bunch of guys because it didn't work and they would smash into the wall or whatever. And Bruce Campbell gets into it, and this is so fucking lazy. He gets into the sled, and it starts like it powers up or whatever, and he's like, hey, get out of there. And he goes, I can't. Something's holding me down. He's not like, he couldn't even go as far as to like, oh, my seatbelt's stuck. He just says, something's holding me down.
I was trying so hard to figure that out. I didn't know if there was magnets.
There's nothing.
He's just pressed against it. Oh, here I am.
Yeah. I'm stuck.
And the guy's trying to save him. He was like, what are you doing? Get out of here.
Yeah.
Why would you try to save me?
He gets shot into some indeterminate future. We don't know where he went.
Well, no, they said he was vaporized.
Well, the blonde says he was vaporized, but Logan's like, well, I mean, the tech worked like 1 out of 7 times. Maybe it worked this time. We don't know. It looked like every time travel we've seen yet, right? And they go back. He and her go back to the 1990. He goes back to 2007, gets the blonde, goes back to 1990, and is like, well, the coordinates are in the sled for where he went. So if I go, I'll go to wherever he was. And she's like, well, how are you going to get back? And he's like, I haven't thought that far through. And he just goes anyway. And I was like, well, you're dead then, I guess. You just live in wherever the fuck he ended up because you have no way to get back. Turns out he just shows back up. And he's like, oh, that was weird. I didn't come out in another time. I
gotta tell you,
I got stuck in a loop.
This sucks so bad. I blinked out as you were describing it.
Understandable. He gets stuck in a time loop. What we find out is Bruce Campbell programmed the fucking sled to make it look like he was going somewhere, but really just to show back up in 1990 so that he could sabotage one of the competitors for the time contract to on behalf of the rich guy who paid him $10 million.
The rich guy paid him $10 million to do something.
To sabotage his competitor's time travel technology,
right?
So that he would get the contract with
even
the government.
Though he already
that
got
would make
the
him
contract.
$6 billion. Yeah, but
he already has $6 billion.
But he wants more. He wants $10 billion. So if he gets rid of the other guy, he's going to make more money somehow. It doesn't make sense. But he goes back. But Bruce Campbell takes that money, sabotages the thing, but then uses that money to buy stock in the rich guy's company, which gives him like controlling interest in the company or whatever, and it's going to be worth $100 billion. Bruce Campbell is awesome. He's funny. He's charming. He's got good lines. Nobody else has shit, and it makes me angry that I have to watch this terrible show with everybody else. They come back. By the way, when him and Logan show up in 1990 the first time, Logan comes out of midair and catches a kid's football because there's like kids playing football in the park. I forgot
to even get into this. This is so fucking great. This is the best thing I've ever seen. This episode made everything worthwhile.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell drops on the ground.
Knocks over like 3 children playing football.
Dead. But the kid still commits to throwing the ball at these 3 kids.
Yeah.
And out of the sky
comes Logan, who catches the football. Ready. Somehow he knows to put his arm out to catch the football. Yeah.
Fucking jocks, man.
Yeah, it's that muscle memory, right? Catches the football, and then they just go, "Hey, kids, we're time cops from the future."
No, I go, what's your deal?
Yeah.
And
What the fuck was that? How'd you do that?
We're time cops from the future. We're solving crimes.
Yeah.
Time crimes.
And the kids go, cool. Yeah. And then Logan goes, go deep. And he throws the football. The kids go to chase the football like they wouldn't be like, hey, no, let's maybe talk about this whole time travel thing that just happened.
They accepted it immediately.
Yeah. And didn't care. They weren't even that interested. They just went, cool. That was all they did.
That's all I could think to say because this job clearly doesn't prepare you to lie. It's already sent you to Germany. You don't know German.
There's so many terrible lines. So there's another ripple, right? And they go, wait a minute. There's a $10 million stock transaction that happened that didn't happen that day or whatever because Kurt Fuller just knows all of the stock transactions that happened in time.
When the second it became a financial issue, the shit got serious.
It got very serious.
That?
And also, Matuzek became even dumber somehow. Just didn't understand how this could possibly be important.
This should have been written by John Schwartzwelder, the guy that did The Simpsons, who wrote made Homer the dumb that he is. Everyone in the show is Homer Simpson.
Well, yes.
Cat. C. Cat. Hold on
a second.
Eats. I can't eat a cat.
The rich guy says when he realizes someone's buying up his stock, he yells at one of his security guys. We have to go back there and stop him. And the security guy goes, you can do that? And he goes, were you spawned a salmon? What? That's what? That's not even an expression. He then goes, I have $6 billion. I can do anything I want.
He's really
Which is actually, honestly accurate, right?
Very true.
Yeah. So they go back in time to fucking run into the rich guy's henchmen who are also back in time. They have everybody goes back.
It's a time party.
Also, they immediately figure out it was Bruce. They don't want it. Logan doesn't want to admit it's his partner that he loves so much, even though we've never met him before. Matuzek, very furious at the idea that it's possibly a cop, right? Kurt Fuller's looking up Bruce Campbell's last psych eval or whatever, and he's like, man, he goes, this guy shouldn't have been a cop. He should have been a bodyguard for Genghis Khan, which doesn't make any sense. particularly in what he says about the guy later.
Well, especially since they already arrested Khan
For
in
sure.
a previous episode.
That is very true. I forgot about that.
He should have been a
He's
bodyguard.
in the background. But what
That
his,
would have been a great subplot of this whole series.
Yeah.
Is that they somehow kidnap
Yeah.
Genghis Khan and they just have him.
Yeah.
They just keep referencing it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
never
showing
go
him again.
to-
Yeah. So what's weird is he says, he's a fake neurotic, and what that means is that he has to keep taking bigger and bigger risks to feel alive. He has to live on the edge, like a race
Same.
car driver or whatever. I can tell. Do you mean bigger and bigger Chick-fil-A sodas? What
Oh,
do you
yeah.
mean?
No, I'm on a diet.
Matuzak says, I don't like shrinks, and I like people that believe in them even less. So you're just a Scientologist? Is that what you mean? But obviously it's him, and he had said some shit about the Yankees, and then he filled out the stock thing in the name of a famous Yankee, and Logan's like, that was his favorite player. Well, then maybe it was him, you fucking idiot.
Well, not just that, but like when Fuller starts talking about the psychology, like the therapist, like the idiot chief, his only response is, "Well, how did you get the job?"
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that's not about me.
Man,
It's
right,
about
not-
this
it's
guy
not
that
about me
committed
right now.
crimes, but also
I'm an office worker. I don't have to do those
I don't
evaluations.
I don't get health care at this
Yeah,
job.
he does say that too. He
I
says
don't
he
get
literally
health
says
care.
he has to pay for his own. That's so funny because he's like the cops have to the TEC pays for like their psych evals or whatever, and he's like, well, since I'm an office worker, I have to pay out of pocket. That's so funny.
Sucks so bad. The future sucks.
Oh, that's
I
so
love the
goddamn.
future still sucks.
That really makes me laugh. So they there's a confrontation. The rich guy shoots a virus, a whatever, into her neck. In a half an hour, it's going to make her way to her heart and it's going to kill her. So you got half an hour to get me my stocks, right? Bruce Campbell's like, I've got them hidden somewhere. I'll come back with the stocks. She's like, I know you trust them, but since it's my life, you want to go with him, Logan, or whatever? So Logan goes with him, and they are really taking their time. They have a half hour. They kind of jaunting around. They're cracking jokes. Like, you've got 30 minutes. You've got to take 2 cabs. You want to hurry the fuck up with this woman's life?
I think they stopped to watch the original Batman.
Now this is where, so like, Bruce Campbell is awesome as always. He gives this thing like, I got tired of being shot at in the past.
Yeah, I do appreciate that he showed up in the most 90s suit possible.
It fucking got shoulder pads. It's beautiful.
4 buttons, 6 buttons, like
yeah,
on the side.
Yeah. It's fucking solid. Like, and he gives his little speech like, look, I got tired of fucking getting shot at in the past. If I die in the 1800s, is anybody gonna know that? Who's
It
gonna
comes with the
remember me?
job.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah. So I just, whatever. And he's like, I was gonna take him down from the inside. They get the stock certificates, which are just photocopies folded in half. And he takes
I
out.
think they said stock certificate.
With a big red stamp.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell goes, I got just the thing. And he takes out a bottle of some kind of liquid and he spritzes it on the top of the stock certificate.
Just goo.
It's just some sort of clear liquid.
Like Gorilla Glue.
And an eyedropper. They make it back with 3 minutes to spare. And he's like, where are my stock certificates? He hands it to him.
Because the girl's poisoned.
Girl's been poisoned, and it's gonna make her way to her heart in half an hour if she doesn't. If they don't
they,
go back.
they,
in time.
they kidnap the girl, they poison the girl,
Right.
and you got to hurry.
Yeah, and they don't hurry.
At all.
They take
the bus.
They take 2 cabs. They take 2 cabs.
No, they took a bus.
No, they take a cab.
They
for
took a
sure
cab?
Take
I thought they took a bus.
They for sure took a cab.
Because they walked, I remember them walking on a bus like, hey, this is...
They show back up, and Bruce Campbell says, I've had a lot of time back here to kill, and I've been learning close-up magic, at which point the stock certificates burst into flames. So he just put, what?
Yeah, he took
And how did he time it that well? He didn't have, a trigger. There was no, detonator or whatever. He just says it, and they just burst into flames like it's a vocal cue for them to catch on fire.
First of all, the fact that Bruce Campbell did it made it so much more believable.
Sure.
I was like, oh, yeah, he does close-up magic.
Also, I believe 100% of Bruce Campbell does close-up magic. If Bruce Campbell showed up right now, I'd be like, show me a card trick. And he'd have cards on him, I'm certain.
Put this quarter in a weird place.
Yeah.
Find it.
Do it. So that happens. I don't remember. Clearly they give her the antidote. I don't remember it happening, but she's still alive. Rich guy gets away, but they can't. They beat up the 2 other guys and handcuff him. In the meanwhile, Bruce Campbell gets shot in the arm, and he just takes.
He doesn't just get shot in the arm.
Well, he gets shot in the shoulder and then takes his jacket off. That's his response to being shot, is to just take off his coat. Also, I don't know how stock certificates work, but since these get burnt in is that just gone? It's not like it's
$1
cash.
billion in stocks.
Well, it's $10 million in that money, but in the 2007, it's $1 billion or whatever. Right?
Yeah, he which still not enough to controlling company interest.
I would
the
also,
guy has $5 billion.
I would also like to say, it's just can't they just get him? Like, there was an accident, they got burnt. Like, can I have, like, they can be replaced or whatever?
It's
just paper. I mean, I for sure don't know how stock works, but it's not like cash, right? Like, it's well, maybe it is. Maybe it's a bearer bond. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I remember plenty of World War II movies where they took stock papers that were worth money and shit like that.
Okay, fair enough.
Or CDs.
Oh, by the way,
I don't know.
They show up to the. By the way, there's a line here that I just remember when they first show up. They go to the stock brokerage that the $10 million transaction went through, and they're talking to some coked up dude, and they're like, he's like, "Who are you guys?" And he's like, "We're the TEC." And you go, "TEC?" He's like, "You heard of the SEC? Well, we're a lot tougher." And the guy just goes,
That's
"Oh,
what
okay.
the T stands for.
I guess I'll just talk to you guys then
we're
about
the
all my personal fucking
Hey,
information."
I always work with the authorities and the people who even just say they're authorities and present no identification.
No identification. And have toy guns on their hips.
And wear shiny leather suits.
So, Bruce Campbell's
shot.
Yes.
He's fucking shot, and they go, like, "Oh, I'm shot." And he's like, "Is it bad?" He's like, "Well, no.
Not really, but it could have been."
But it's clearly through him.
Yeah.
It's still in him because it's not out the back. So there's just a bullet lodged there. He's like, they take a moment where he leans against the wall and just shudders.
He makes his escape. The rich guy gets away. They don't know where he went. Logan's like, "It's like a maze down there. I couldn't find him." Bruce Campbell goes, "Hey, I better find a first aid kit or something."
Yeah, he's going to find a first aid kit. And then him and the blonde are talking about, it's just funny how things just wrap up.
The blonde literally goes like, your friend's not that bad.
He's in the background escaping.
Clearly getting into the time car, right? Like it's just hitting buttons and shit. Yeah, it's just very obvious.
It's so funny. Bruce is the best.
He's the best. Logan's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He goes, "I can't tell you to take me in." He's like, "I'm going to my beach. If you figure out the year, you can find me there or whatever."
Yeah.
Rich guy shows up at the end of the time tunnel, and he's like, "You owe me $8 billion or whatever he says." Bruce Campbell drives into him in the time car,
laughing maniacally,
like a lunatic,
out of nowhere.
Are we? And then there's kind of a little bit of fake explosion, but also the time travel graphic, like the blah, 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 blah that happens when they go in time. So are we meant to believe that he gets away or he dies? Does Bruce Campbell get away, or does him smashing into that guy prevent him from traveling through space?
It's open-ended that they both escape. So I think.
Well, let's figure this out. If he isn't in the car, let's assume he's dead, right? Like, you need to be in the car to go through the thing. I think if you're not in the car, you probably.
If you're time traveling, you have to put down a flimsy, see-through plastic visor that doesn't cover up your whole body.
It doesn't go all the way. I was about to say, he pulls that cockpit lid down, and it only goes halfway. There's just a big gap.
It just protects the chin. It protects Bruce Campbell's chin. That's his money.
That is so true.
After already having been shot laser guns, at him, almost kill him, and the guy's shooting at him as he's moving closer to him.
And not missing. He's hitting the car, but apparently it's ineffectual. They go through the thing, and I'm not sure if we're meant to believe he's alive or not, but...
It's like 5 o'clock happened in their regular time, and they're like, it's my shift.
Yeah. They go back, and they're not really that upset. Matusik says to the blonde, it's your first mission. It's time for your first mission report. Absolutely not her first mission.
Not her first mission at all.
Gone back in time several times.
Many times.
Should put it out there.
The first episode.
So she goes in fucking Chicago. It's all over the place. She time travels a lot. So definitely not her first mission. And Logan, who we think should
be... And now is her new partner. I think they were setting up the partner device.
But let's say this. They haven't been partners. Who gives... She's also not technically a time cop. The whole episode is that she's just there for this... I mean, she's a cop, but she's in charge of the tech and the science stuff.
Yeah,
they bring it up a bunch.
Yeah, in this episode, they actually brought up a Never Black time cop to just have an exchange with him. It was like, we don't know where he's at.
Yeah.
Out. NAACP award. Thank you. Thank you, sci-fi.
Matusik says to Logan, money's like really tempting or whatever, and Logan just goes, "It wasn't about the money. He goes, it wasn't the money." He goes, "It wasn't the money. It wasn't the money." Is the line, but then what the fuck was it? He clearly did it for the money so he could go live on his beach.
I can help you out with this because I wrote this down specifically. Same as you. I like that we both key in on the same terrible thing.
Same horseshit. Yeah.
The character goes, "It's a powerful thing, money."
Yeah.
It wasn't the money. So what was going on is, I think the show started out with well intentions,
Yeah.
and everyone was like, "This is horse shit. You got to dress it up and make it look futuristic." So they put everything in the budget,
Right.
for one episode to look futuristic.
Yeah.
And then they ran
didn't work.
out.
So
So
now-
like, well, I can't go do that cool Revolutionary War episode, so we're just going to go to 1990. You could hear traffic going by. We can't afford, a boatload full of people, hostages. So it really came down to the writers going, knowing it's over.
Yeah.
And the scene is, this is the last lines of the show, and they know it's over.
Right.
They know for a fact it's over. It's a powerful thing, money. And it wasn't the money.
Yeah.
That means they did all of
They
this
could,
for the love.
The love of Time Cop.
The love of the show. They were like, we're doing this for the love of this.
I would like to say this about the whole psychiatric thing. His argument is that Bruce Campbell's a person who has to live on the edge, and he has to take bigger and bigger risks, or he won't feel alive or whatever. But Bruce Campbell's whole thing is he wants out.
To chill.
He wants to go sit on a beach. He says it like 100 times. So that's just ultimately contradicting each other. So Matusik is right and the shrinks are wrong. Maybe this is a whole Scientology thing here.
I think when this is what happened to Star Wars and all these movies is once you get like an intellectual property, and everyone really wants to see this thing,
Right.
Everyone has to put their input on it, their stamp on it.
Yeah.
So it's not just a director's stamp.
Right.
It's the actor stamps, the director stamps, but it's like 11 producers.
And
the writer's like, no, I think it should be this and this, and it all convolutes it. And that's why I think the new Star Wars movies aren't that good. It's because everyone's had too much input.
The last one I like is Rogue One.
Rogue One's
I
fine.
fucking love Rogue One.
It was great.
Because it's dark.
It was dark. And that ending, that
It's
whole
perfect.
with Darth
Yeah,
Vader and
yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, my childhood just exploded.
Yeah.
And even Solo was fine, if not
Yeah,
cheesy.
it was cheesy, but it was fine. Yeah,
you know, but like you could see all those inputs and those things. And when I look at Time Cop, I see the same thing, but everyone's input is bad.
Yeah, everyone's input is bad and contradictory. Everybody's input is 180 degrees from everybody else's input.
Like, this
So
is not a
it's pulling
TV
away from
show.
itself.
This is the rough draft of a TV show.
If that. Yeah. There's no singular shows work when there is a singular, like, your best shows are singular vision driven shows, right? It's this creator with this idea.
Yeah, like
And
Seinfeld was Larry David and Jerry. They wrote all the episodes.
Exactly.
They had writers, but they would pitch ideas, but they're like, all right, but we'll write
initially,
it in.
initially at least, maybe later on. But you know, your Vince Gilligan's, your whatever. It's like singular visions, and this is the epitome of too many cooks. No, I don't know that this show had a vision from the beginning, other than hey, we own the rights to Time Cop. Maybe we should. Maybe we should do something.
I think someone was very high and had a lot of friends and was like, hey, fuck it, let's get everyone paid. There's no way this is going forward.
We're getting 9 episodes. Let's make some money.
And then right around 8 or 9, they're like, hey, you know what? I like this.
Yeah, we maybe can do something.
Let's throw Bruce Campbell. Hey, this is pretty good. And they're like, canceled.
You got anything else? Well, first off, would you? He's asking this. Would you recommend people watch this show?
They better. I'm not the only one that has to suffer. I want to talk about this the whole time. I like shit like this.
Yeah.
I wanted. My dream would be, having watched the show, to be the show to get so popular underground that people do their own versions of the show. Where they take the same scripts.
There's fan fiction, there's fan films.
Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly should be this show. And they should just commit to doing every single episode of this show for Adult Swim, and it's them, and recreate it note for note.
Even if they did like 20-minute versions of each episode,
it would be so fucking funny.
It would.
It would be so goddamn funny that I think that should happen. And I think all these old shows, like if I hope someone gives you money for doing Canceled, where you do live like drunken history versions.
Live reenactments of these shows. Yeah.
That would be. I would watch the fuck out of that.
That'd be very funny.
I don't know if this is the next future for you, but if you pitch anything, how about we just do this podcast?
Right.
But as we're talking about, we take clips from us talking about it and
act
we
it out.
reenact it with famous actors.
That's fucking brilliant. Anything you want to plug?
Jeffrey Epstein was murdered.
Yes, that came out today. As a matter of fact,
Clearly
right?
murdered, yeah,
That
yeah.
The pathologist
Came out
says,
today.
Also, we already knew.
Everyone, I love this story so much. Like, I wish
yeah.
Timecop could solve this crime.
The only way this, like, I was like, oh, that he's not murdered was that he was actually still alive.
Yeah,
Those are the only two.
This is what happened. The billionaire from
they
Timecop
snuck him out.
Murdered Jeffrey Epstein with Bruce Campbell.
Oh, what if? Oh yeah. I like it. At Chris Cubis on all social media. You're at
Whitecotton or Twitter, and at Jay Whitecotton on Instagram.
So do that stuff. At Chris Cubis, ChrisCubisComedy.com for shows. The Sting is next. This will be up Thursday. Yeah, The Sting is next week. King Bee Lounge, 9:30 p.m. So come out to that if you're in Austin. It's always a good time. Rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Next week, we're going to start, it's on the NBC.com website, a little something called Dark Room. It's an anthology show, kind of like Night Gallery, hosted by James Coburn, ran for 7 episodes in 1981. So we're going to get ready and watch those for next week. So
Who you watching
join us.
with?
I don't know yet. So we'll
Nice.
figure that out. But join us for that. It's going to be super fun, and we will see you next week.
Have you had Danny Goodwin on yet?
An elite team of agents track unlawful travelers across time. Their mission, protect the past, preserve the future. These agents are known as